Fool Me Once is an eight-part series on Netflix, based upon the book by Harlan Coben. Its lead character is played by Michelle Keegan,
Hmm.
who is from Northern England, and it was in the
She,
army and had been a military helicopter pilot.
oh, the character as opposed to the actor.
The character as
Yeah.
opposed to the actor. Though she has been in all sorts of TV that I have never watched. Um,
Coronation Street, most notably.
and she is married to um, what's his face, whose name I can never remember, which is ridiculous, which is why I'm having to double check.
We'll call him Guy.
Yes, Richard Armitage.
Oh, he
Oh,
loves being in Harlan Coben stuff.
He does, doesn't
oh,
he?
He's
now I'm
always showing up in
interested.
Harlan Coben stuff. All right, yeah. All right.
So, so they are married. They have a young child. He comes from a very, very wealthy family. His mother is played by Joanna Lumley, and I have very mixed views about Joanna Lumley. And will not always tolerate watching things if she's in them. Um, and he has a number of other siblings. So it all begins with, you know, they are they are happy getting married, and or at this point are married. And the series really then moves off with him having been killed
Mm,
in a robbery, attempted robbery on the streets of whichever bit of London they live in, and he's been shot. She has left the military in circumstances which are not entirely clear, but you have a strong feeling that it's of the not quite Abu Ghraib-esque, but there was something bad
yeah.
that has happened. She seems to have done something wrong, and the series begins to unfold with her trying to find out what actually has happened. She can't believe she starts to think that possibly her husband might not be dead, as there's some mysterious footage, all sorts of slightly odd things happen, and she starts to think what is going on behind this. Her
Yeah.
sister had been murdered prior to her husband's death in a break and enter, and all of these very difficult things have happened. She's trying to readjust to life with these without her husband, with this stilted relationship with his incredibly wealthy family, and this sort of overwhelming sense of what all of these things that have what's actually happened in a sort of traditional Harlan Coben fashion. That
Yeah.
there are things that go back over the years that you're not sure about, and that will slowly, over 8 episodes, unfold.
Yeah. He seems to be quite good at that. Harlan Coben is like, here is the premise coming on and go. And I've never actually read any of his books or watched any of his things, but it seems as if it's just kind of like he's good at doing the sort of, I would say, pulpy thriller kind of.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've seen a couple of his. I've seen The Five, which was on Netflix, and another one, was it called The Woods? It was a Polish
Okay. All right.
that was done with, but I watched simultaneously with subtitles and dubbing, which was quite interesting for seeing. It was one of those moments of the contrast where you see between what you get from each of them. It was
Yeah.
fascinating.
Oh.
This was not.
I've done that before.
So okay, so back to Fool Me Once. What did you think about so that's the thing, and I know that we can't really talk about it much more because then we start getting into spoiler territory. I think that's the
Yeah.
that's the
So
nature of
there
Harlan Coben stuff.
So there are a
So
few bits that are quite interesting about it because it has a very American feel.
yes,
That is said, that's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's a story that would fit better in the US.
I think the original book was actually set in the U.S.
And that would make sense. There are all sorts of things. One of the things about it is guns. They are more liberal with guns in it than you would just ever expect in the UK. There are guns present in a way that we simply don't see here. You don't have people who have a gun, normal people don't have a gun safe at home. It's just sort of unimaginable.
Yeah.
So there are elements like that which just you look at and think, don't quite, it's
Yeah,
not, it's not wrong. It just feels a little bit incongruous.
yeah. I've heard that about the guns. I've heard this in reviews about this film. They say that, yeah, the guns is a bit. It takes you out of it a bit.
And his family have a much more American feel to them.
Hmm.
Whilst they're ostensibly, a wealthy, a long-standing wealthy, upper sort of upper middle class family, they feel more like American upper middle class. The nature of the sort of the family business money and things, it doesn't feel, sounds really stupid, it doesn't feel very British.
Okay.
Um, but it doesn't. It's a little bit incongruous.
It's just not cricket. So,
Just not cricket. Well, we
okay.
we don't have those sorts of we don't quite have those sorts of families. It's just not,
Well,
and it's hard to
I
explain
guess we
why.
do, just not in that sort of way.
Yeah,
But
yeah, we have all sorts of very odd families, but we don't have families that are that sort of financial setup.
okay.
It's a bit
Uh,
weird. It's worth watching to once you get to the end, you're like, oh yeah, no, that's odd. But it is really well put together.
yep.
Uh, it's very well cast. It really has pace. I mean,
All right.
it's compulsive. You want to get to the end. I didn't see the final twists at all,
Oh.
at all, at all, at all. I was genuinely, surprised. And other people I know who are also good, who are much better at me at predicting what's going to happen, didn't see it coming either.
Oh,
And
oh, okay.
and
Cool. So,
some of that is also a little bit of that is, I think, because of cultural. Some things would be possibly a little bit more predictable in the US than in the UK.
okay.
Possibly, not
Oh,
necessarily, possibly.
so how many stars would you give it?
A very high three.
Okay.
Would
Very high
thoroughly
three.
recommend. Not the best thing I've ever seen. Very good viewing.
Well, it does sound like, they said something about Netflix. Netflix says that they want to be making gourmet burgers. And it sounds like, it's like, it's nice, it's flashy and everything like that, but it's still junk food. So,
Yes, that's exactly it.
yeah, and yeah, it sounds like they have nailed exactly what they're going for there. All right, cool.